friends. Welcome to the Nurse Meg RN channel. I'm Nurse Meg. I've been a nurse for a million years, and I am here to give you all of my tips and tricks. I want to help you to get into nursing school, pass the NCLEX, and have a really successful career and feel confident in yourself. So today's video is all about how to interpret ABGs, what are ABGs, and ABGs made easy. ABGs, kind of like EKGs, are one of those three-letter topics that make people just panic. There's so many charts, there's so many arrows, and if you're in nursing school, everyone's like, just memorize it. Today, we're not doing any of that. I'm gonna teach you how to interpret and answer ABG questions in less than a minute with a couple of really simple processes. By the end of this video, you're gonna be able to identify respiratory acidosis, respiratory alkalosis, metabolic acidosis, and metabolic acidosis. There's only 4 options, guys. And then there's maybe some compensation, but you're gonna also have some information about the patient to determine if it's compensated or if the body's just trying to fix itself. That's what compensation means. So whenever you're looking at an ABG value, I want you to always start with the pH. The pH of something. The pH of something means whether it's more acidic or it's more basic alkaline. Remember in chemistry, it's a little sliding scale and we would do like little colors. Something more acidic, something more basic and alkaline. Always start with the pH, not the CO2, not the carbon dioxide, or the bicarb, HCO₃. So start with that question. Is this patient acidic or alkaline? Or are they in that little sweet spot? Normal pH, the sweet spot is 7.35 to 7.45. It's this tiny little window. Below 7.35 is acidic. Above 7.45 is alkaline. The way that I learned it and remember it in nursing school is acidosis is less letters than alkalosis. So acidosis is lower, alkalosis is higher. That's it, pretty simple, right? So start with the pH. The pH is gonna tell you what the problem is, or the pH is gonna tell you what the problem you're looking for is. So again, the sweet spot is 7.35 to 7.45. Less than that is acidic, 7.35 and lower. Higher than 7.45 is alkaline. And honestly, you can eliminate half of the options in a test just with that. And then you're 50% closer to the answer. All right, step 2, I want you to look at the CO2. C, carbon, 2, oxygen, dioxide. That's what carbon dioxide means. 1 carbon, 2 oxygens, carbon dioxide. CO2. CO2 is an acidic bitch. So more CO2, you're gonna be acidic. Too little CO2, basic bitch, alkaline. Normal is 35 to 45, very similar to the pH, 3.5, 4.5. High CO2 acidic, low CO2 alkaline. What is the only thing that fucks up CO2 or increases CO2 or decreases CO2? What is CO2? Do we breathe in CO2? No, we breathe in oxygen and we breathe out CO2. CO2 is like that byproduct, the waste of the gas exchange. So I breathe in beautiful oxygen that the trees let off. It is in the air. And then the little gas exchange happens in my lungs. So the oxygen goes in my bloodstream, and then the little alveoli put the CO2 into the air or the breath, and I go, and I breathe out CO2. So if I'm breathing out CO2, how am I gonna get rid of a ton of CO2? Maybe if I breathe a lot, if I hyperventilate, I'm gonna breathe off a bunch of CO2. That's what makes you dizzy. So when you're like, and having a panic attack and hyperventilating and breathing off a bunch of CO2, your levels in your blood will drop. The CO2 levels will drop, and then you get dizzy, and then you pass out. So that's why, I don't know, old school movies or old wives' tale, they say, if you're hyperventilating, if you're panicking, breathe into a paper bag, because you're gonna breathe back in the CO2 so you don't lose it. Does that make sense? So if the pH is low and the CO2 is high, what's a reason why the CO2 would be high? Maybe I'm not hyperventilating. Maybe I'm retaining. Maybe I'm hypoventilating. So if the pH is low acidic and the CO2 is high, I'm in respiratory acidosis. I don't want you to just memorize the values and then try to interpret it. I want you to know what's happening in the body. And that is the most important question that you can ask yourself in a nursing school exam or on the NCLEX. When you see a value that you don't like, that's out of range, or even a sign or symptom or a vital sign or parameter, be like, why is that happening? What's happening in the body? What is causing that? That's always gonna lead you in the right direction to the right answer. All right, step 3, now let's talk about bicarbonate. Normal bicarb is 22 to 26. Bicarbonate is like that pacifist Sweden friend that's like, can we just like neutralize the situation, guys? Like, can we not fight? Like, come on. That's bicarb. Make a visual of this lady. You all have a friend like this. Bicarb is a base. So a high bicarb is gonna make you more alkaline. Low bicarb is gonna send you in the other direction, acidic. High HCO₃, you're gonna be more basic, alkaline. Low HCO₃ is gonna make you more acidic. Now what fucks up my bicarb? What makes it high? What makes it low? The only thing that kicks out bicarb or holds on to bicarb is the kidneys. The kidneys are the one that goes, you get to stay, I'm sick of you, I'm getting rid of you. The kidneys affect the bicarb. So if the kidneys are fucked up, if you have renal failure, some kind of poisoning or something like that, that's gonna fuck up the bicarb. Again, to review, the kidneys are the only thing that's gonna raise or lower the bicarb. Now let's talk whether it is metabolic or respiratory. And this is where students typically will overcomplicate things. Don't try to just follow like respiratory opposite metabolic equal, which I'll talk about in just a second. And I'm sure you guys have all heard that in school. I want you to be looking at the symptoms and the description in the patient as well as the values. Just like in real life, we're not just gonna make decisions based on the values. We're gonna make decisions based on the patient's diagnosis and symptom and current status. So real quick, I'm gonna display this on the screen. Are you ready? Look at the pH. An acidic pH with a high CO2 is respiratory acidosis. An acidic pH with low bicarb is metabolic acidosis. An alkaline pH with low CO2 is going to be respiratory alkalosis. A high or alkalotic pH and a high bicarb is metabolic alkalosis. That's literally all you're doing. Now let's talk about really quick compensation. Compensation is something that maybe nursing school will ask you, and very rarely on the NCLEX will we ask you that, but in real life it's gonna make sense because you're gonna have patient information. Compensation means when one organ or one system is trying to help the other system. The body is always trying to kind of get back to homeostasis. The body's always trying to fix itself. When you get an infection or you get a foreign pathogen, the immune system's like, go fix that. If you cut yourself, the fibrinolytic system is gonna go, hey, let's make a little Band-Aid. Let's make a little scab. When you have a clot, also your fibrinolytic system is gonna go and try to dissolve that clot. So with ABGs, the lungs are trying to help the kidneys and the kidneys are trying to help the lungs. So here's my shortcut. Think of these questions. Is there one abnormal value in the ABG? Then there's no compensation. Are there two abnormal values? Probably having some compensation. If both the CO2 and the bicarb are fucked up, compensation is happening. Now, if the pH is out of range, that is partial compensation. If the CO2 and the bicarb are fucked up and the pH is normal between 7.35 and 7.45, that is complete compensation. Or sometimes you'll hear it in real life as fully compensated. Sometimes you'll hear the intensivist say that. So instead of memorizing a bunch of charts, use those little questions and evaluation, and let's do some questions together. All right, let's read this question together. So the nurse's notes say that Mrs. Johnson is a 65-year-old female admitted to the medical surgical unit with a diagnosis of community-acquired pneumonia. She has a history of asthma, COPD, and hypertension. The patient's ER complaints were weakness, diminished breath sounds in the right lower lobe, and a productive cough with yellow sputum. CBC reveals a white blood cell count of 24,000. Chest X-ray reveals consolidation with patchy opacities. Later in the shift, the arterial blood gas results are as follows. pH is 7.16, PCO2 is 80, PaO₂ is 45, the bicarb is 24, and the O2 sat is 81%. This ABG result represents which of the following conditions? So, number one, ask yourself, what is the pH? 7.16. That is lower than 7.35, so it's acidic. So that means we can eliminate B and D immediately. This is an acidosis problem. Now, I want you to look at one thing. What are the symptoms of this patient? Are they happening in the lungs? If the symptoms are happening in the lungs, it's respiratory. If it's not happening in the lungs, it's automatically metabolic. So when you have patient descriptions or diagnoses? Let's look at that. So the correct answer is respiratory acidosis. Let's do another question, and this is an NCLEX style question. But what we're going to use, not only all of your knowledge of ABG, we're going to use some test strategy to rationalize the wrong answers to feel confident in the right answers. So we are working on med-surg. It's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The COPD patient is stable on 2 liters nasal cannula. The ABG results come back, and the pH is 7.33. The carbon dioxide is 58. And the bicarb is 32. What is the priority nursing action? Remember, when it's asking for a nursing action, it's asking for you to do an intervention or action, not to gather information. Am I going to maintain oxygen between 88 and 92%? Am I going to place them on a non-rebreather of 15 liters? Am I going to give bicarb, or am I going to prepare for emergent intubation? So this patient is stable on 2 liters. Would I need to intubate this patient? No, I don't need to intubate this patient if they're breathing on their own at 2 liters. Why would I need to intubate them? We intubate them if they can't ventilate on their own. They can't breathe on their own, so I got to get a machine to breathe for them. They're ventilating just fine, so I'm not going to intubate them. How's the bicarb? Is the bicarb high? Remember, the normal is 22 to 26. That's a little on the high side. Why would I give more bicarb? They got enough bicarb. I'm not going to add more. 15 liters. Would I ever give 15 liters to a COPD patient? Absolutely not. All that oxygen is going to get trapped in their little chronically obstructed lungs. I'm not going to give 15 liters. So the answer is A. This patient is stable. They are likely having some chronic CO2 retention because of the COPD, and I want to keep their sats right in that range. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Put questions in the comments. Let's do another ABG question, and this is NCLEX style. So we have a 63-year-old female with COPD who is positive for pneumonia, and they are vented. They're on a ventilator. Overnight, this patient became more somnolent with thick secretions. The ABG reveals a pH of 7.28, a PaCO₂, carbon dioxide of 58, a PaO2 of 72, and a bicarb of 26. What is the priority action? Do I need to increase the ventilation settings per protocol and provider direction, which you're always going to have parameters, give sodium bicarb, recheck the ABG, or decrease the oxygen to prevent CO2 retention? Does more oxygen prevent CO2 retention? What's the only thing that increases or decreases CO2? How many times I breathe a minute, right? Do I need to recheck the ABG later? No, that is not a nursing action that makes sense. I'm not going to just check it again later. We're going to do something now. How's the bicarb? Do I need to give more bicarb? No, I don't need to give more bicarb. Is the bicarb low? No. We just rationalized B, C, and D being wrong. If I increase the ventilation settings, am I going to breathe faster? Yeah. If I breathe more times a minute, am I going to release some of that CO2? Yes. Therefore, the answer is A. Here is the rationale if you are interested. Now remember, these questions that I'm showing you are questions that I wrote, and they are from my free test bank that you can find on my website, nursemegrn.com. I have free questions for RN, for PN, every category of the NCLEX, including case studies. I hope this video was helpful for anybody who finds ABGs confusing. Remember, don't start with CO2, don't start with bicarb, start with the pH. Figure out whether they are acidic or alkaline, and then is the CO2 or the bicarb fucked up? And then let that guide you. And if you're given a patient description, look at those symptoms and ask yourself, are those symptoms happening in the lungs? It's respiratory. If they're not happening in the lungs, it's metabolic. Once you know that, you've solved every ABG question in less than a minute. If this helped you, subscribe to this channel for weekly videos on how to answer questions, understand nursing concepts, and understand anatomy, physiology, and patho. Be sure to check out my website, nursemegrn.com, for a ton of free resources. I also have a free study group that meets on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. And like I said, if you want hundreds of practice questions for free, like the questions that we just did today, check out my free test banks. And I also do have some nursing school study bundles to help you to pass certain semesters. And I have what I think is one of the best NCLEX study programs out there. It has practice questions, it has study guides to review all of nursing school, it has lecture content, but a big component of my NCLEX program is teaching you test strategy, how to analyze the question and get to the answer that the nurse writing the question wants you to get to, as well as anti-anxiety techniques to retrain your sympathetic nervous system so you will not have test anxiety. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next lesson.